Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Championship Showcase, Secrets for Success, from the playing field of competition to the field of life. We've been speaking with inspirational sports leaders, former athletes, coaches, administrators, sports psychologists, and related professionals who are sharing their life strategies and empowering messages of hope and purpose to support those athletes that are seeking to make a successful transition. My name is Dominic Militello, and we're so glad you could join us. We are very fortunate to have another terrific guest with us today, so let's jump right in. Today we're speaking with the passionate Julie Hammer. Julie is the Assistant AD for Career Enhancement and Employer Relations, a position created to establish NU for Life, a unique program dedicated to the professional development of Northwestern University student athletes. NU for Life program serves as the connector between student athletes and external constituents, alums, employers, professionals not associated with Northwestern, constantly facilitating informational interviews, internship, and job opportunities. It also provides one-on-one career consulting, resume review, interview preparation, and four-year curriculum that focuses on improving student-athletes' professional IQ. NU for Life assists Northwestern's nearly 500 student-athletes in all 19 sports and provides individualized career strategizing across a variety of industries. Julie is a 2003 graduate of Syracuse University's Newhouse School of Public Communications with a bachelor's degree in magazine journalism, and she earned a master's degree in higher education and policy from Northwestern in 2009. Julie joined the NU's athletic communications staff in 2005 after stints at the Big Ten Conference and Teamworks Media in Chicago. She spent 7 years as an associate director of athletic communications and publics coordinator prior to taking over the NU for Life initiative. A Verizon Academic All-American in softball and Syracuse Orange Plus Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Julie is active in several organizations, including the National Association of Collegiate Women's Administrators, Positive Coaching Alliance, Women in Sports and Entertainment, and the Women's Leadership Symposium. We're lucky to have Julie Hammer with us today. Julie, welcome to the Championship Showcase.
Dominic, thanks so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, we know you're busy and you have a lot going on, and we really appreciate you spending time with us. I can't tell you enough. I'm so excited to hear about the NU for Life program. But before we get there, can you share with our audience a little bit about your background and upbringing?
Sure. I was born and raised in Springfield, Illinois, which, as most people don't know, is actually the capital of Illinois. Many people think Chicago, but it's indeed Springfield, which is about 3.5 hours south of Chicago. And from there I was fortunate to do my undergraduate degree at Syracuse, as you mentioned, and was in the Newhouse School and also played softball there. And while I was there, I interned in the athletic communications office at Syracuse under the tutelage of Sue Edson, who is still there, and really found that I loved the intersection between writing and graphic design and all things sports. And so from there, once I graduated, I did an internship at the Big Ten Conference office where I was the Robert Hamill communications intern, and was fortunate to learn from a variety of individuals there and be exposed to a lot of different things. I'd sort of always had a love for the Big Ten Conference as instilled by my father, and so it was a real thrill to work at the conference office and to see how things were run kind of behind the scenes on the communication side. And while I was there, I was fortunate enough to make some connections and to learn a lot about Northwestern, and I really loved everything that was going on there. And so when my internship at the Big Ten ended, I went to Teamworks Media for a brief stint, about 3 months there, and did some freelance work for them, and then a position opened at Northwestern in January 2005. So I moved to Evanston and have been here ever since. I'll be entering my 11th year in January. So sort of my role at Northwestern has evolved over the years. I started on as an assistant, communications assistant, and covered women's basketball, so traveled with the team, and then also handled the publications and anything graphic design related. I think I was the only person in the office who could actually open Photoshop, so therefore I had a lot of different creative projects on my plate, so everything from the game programs, the media guides that were printed back then, to large format graphic design, signs, posters, signage, etc. So I did that for about 6 or 7 years. During that time, I earned my master's here in higher education administration at Northwestern, which was a fantastic experience. It opened my eyes to a lot of higher ed issues, and it was a good perspective to see where college athletics fit into that landscape of higher ed. So really helpful degree at the time. And then I transitioned into this role to NU for Life in September 2012 when the position was founded and we started the program. So that's sort of been my path to where I am today. Wow,
great story and great perspective on having a broad perspective of doing a lot of different things. We've been talking to a lot of guests and whatnot, and they say that's really the key in making a successful transition from athletics into the next phase is having a lot of things outside of sports. Would you say that was true for you?
Yeah, I think, so often we get caught up in what's right in front of our face, and so being able to diversify your experiences, whether it's, through a different degree program or, a philanthropic endeavor that you really feel strongly about, but just to really be a well-rounded citizen, I think is really important. And so I think from both an athletic and, administrator's, perspective, and then also a student-athlete's perspective who's looking to make a jump into, the work world, being able to speak to a variety of experiences and show those translatable skills is really critical.
And some athletes, I know, they really focus in on their athletic development, and they may feel that, looking outside of that focus will not allow them to be the best athlete they can be. Would you agree with that or not?
I think certainly you should be dedicated to your sport and to your endeavor. I think at some point your career is going to come to an end, and so planning for that transition shouldn't really take away from your day-to-day passion and effort into your sport, but rather having sort of a backup plan B, and just having some insurance, right? I mean, we don't, just as individuals, you want to have a plan for if your plan A doesn't go entirely according to plan. And so I think that, having that backup plan and being able to know that you have options, will actually help you do what you're doing on a daily basis better.
Got it. Right. Exactly. What were some of the things that sports or competition taught you that you've been able to use in what you're doing now in your current position?
I think it's really the idea that you fail over and over again, and that's part of life, and you kind of have to take it in stride. I played softball, and if you're hitting 300, you're doing okay. And that's failing 2 out of 3 times. So, that sort of resilience and, ability to rebound after something goes wrong or not entirely according to plan is something that I use on a regular basis, I think. The other thing is really, in the athletic department, especially, here at Northwestern, through my experience, you're part of a team, and we're all working toward one common goal, and that's to make our student-athletes experience outstanding and to really contribute to, to these 4 years of their life in any way that we can. And so being a part of the team and supporting each other, and we talk about being a good teammate to each other around here, and that's just kind of the vernacular around sports and around athletics, and it's very familiar to me, and it's something that I loved about my playing time at Syracuse, and I think that's carried over here in the mission and the vision within the athletic department.
Wonderful. Share with us some of the mentors or coaches or teachers you had growing up or coming up that the lessons they taught you that you carry with you today.
Sure. I recently heard at a talk, one way to kind of build your resume and look at your resume is through people and the mentors and the individuals that have helped you get to where you are. So instead of writing on your resume your job description and the position that you held, really think about the people that got you to where you are, and whose shoulders you stood on to get to your position and to kind of build your career. And that really struck a chord with me because I feel like I've been incredibly fortunate in the mentors and the individuals who have helped me along the way, whether it's through, providing advice, through actually, creating a path to a position, or just kind of providing day-to-day mentorship. So for me, really it started with my parents. I was fortunate. My father, as I mentioned, is a huge Big Ten fan in general, and the Big Ten and college athletics was really instilled in me by my father. So, and my mom as well. She's probably the hardest worker I know. And so those were really some attributes that I saw early on in life. I think in college I had a professor who was a magazine professor, Professor Glavin, and he's deceased now, but we kept in touch after college, and he was the first person that really told me that a student-athlete skill set is something that employers want to hire. And I remember him telling me that, and I just thought, I don't understand, we're just we're playing sports. We're doing this every day. We do it for fun. It's what we love, and why would people really want to hire me because I'm an athlete? And so his comment about that, I think, really still resonates with me, and that's what I'm doing now is trying to convince other student athletes that their skill set is actually incredibly marketable, and employers do want to hire them, and I've seen that now over and over again. And so, I think really the seeds for that were planted with Professor Glavin at Syracuse, and I mentioned her before, but Sue Edson in the athletic department, she was the director of communications at the time I interned there, and has since moved into a more external role within the athletic department. But she was really someone who said, why can't you do anything? You can do anything you want, and we'll expect you to, after you get the job, what are you going to do? And I thought, Sue, I haven't gotten the job yet. I don't know what you're talking about. And she just sort of has this confidence about her that's really, it's contagious, and is also something that I really appreciated when I was in college, because it's such a transition time. And so having her support, and she really was the one that put in an incredible word for me with the folks at the Big Ten for me to get that internship right out of school. So coming from a non-Big Ten school into the Big Ten conference is, I don't think it's a really easy thing to do, and she really helped in that process. So Sue was outstanding. Currently I think that I have a great relationships with the folks of the Big Ten that stem from my year as an intern there. Sue Lister, who was in communications at the time, is now has moved on to something else, but she was my boss at the Big Ten, and what she really, I think added to my professional perspective was this idea of relatability and vulnerability, and I think that's kind of, those go into making a great leader. And people will follow you if they're able to relate to you and really buy into your vision. And so she was really the first person that I saw that from, and appreciate that. Andrea Williams at the Big Ten was another great mentor for me. Wendy Fallon, who's there now, was awesome as well. So just a really great group of women there that I learned a lot from. And then here at Northwestern, Jim Phillips is obviously an outstanding leader and someone that I learn from every day. His example here is, it's pretty incredible. It's hard not to get inspired by him, all the time. So I continue to learn from him constantly. And then I would say daily, Jana Blay, who's my direct report right now, she is the director of student-athlete welfare here and oversees a variety of departments. But she is someone who's been an advocate for me and has really been the catalyst for creating the NU for Life position, and really has helped me along the way in my professional career over the past 3 years. So those are kind of some of the mentors and folks that I really owe a lot of my career to.
Well, it sounds like you have a really solid foundation and you have a really strong group around you to help inspire you. Not that you need a lot of inspiration, but to help moving this work forward. Talking about athletes and their transition, why do you think athletes, Julie, struggle so much in this process?
Well, I mean, I think it has a lot to do with their identity and the fact that their identity is so deeply rooted in athletics. I mean, the environment now is, to be recruited as a 7th, 8th grader in some sports, and to verbally commit even earlier in your high school career, and so it's really kind of, you work so hard to follow this incredibly rigid, structured path of, going through 4 years of high school and then, 4 years of college, and your athletic experience is so central to that 4 years that when you have to think about moving on, it can be incredibly challenging for some people just because they have worked so hard over those 4 years, or to get to that point that when they're faced with the challenge of, maybe not continuing their athletic career post-college, it can be really scary.
Got it. Tell us now a little bit more about the NU for Life program and how you came into that position.
Sure. The NU for Life program, as I mentioned, was started in September of 2012. And it's funded by a donor, David Kabiller, who's just incredible. And he and Jim Phillips sat down, in the fall of, I think, probably 2011, and talked about ways that David could really give back to the student-athlete population and to Northwestern in general. And David's passion really is about helping others find their passion. And so Jim and David sort of concocted a program that we would have, a one-off program in February of 2012 that would sort of bring together alums and professionals who wanted to expose our student-athletes to a variety of industries and a variety of companies and opportunities, and just something that would be really inspirational to them and would get them thinking about what life after college looks like. And that event went really well, and so as a department, we sort of came to David and said, would you like us to build a department around that key theme of finding your passion and helping connect alums with current student-athletes, facilitating internships, jobs, informational interviews, everything career, basically. Would you be up for funding a department that would do that? And he graciously and, so fantastically said yes, and provided the funds for that program, which at the time was just myself, and I had an operating budget, and just kind of started NU for Life from there. Since then, we've expanded and added one additional person who really sort of shoulders the load on the career side. And so what that position does is basically anything career related. So resume review, career strategizing, the 4-year curriculum programming, our mentoring program. And so that they sort of handle the internal side of the house. And then my role is more externally facing, interacting with alums and donors and companies, employers, really trying to advocate for our student-athlete skill set in the workplace.
Wow, tremendous stuff, Julie. Let me ask you this. What were some of the challenges of getting this program off the ground?
That's a great question. There were plenty of them. I think if you think of it, what are the startups, the common issues with startups? That's sort of those are the answers to kind of some of the challenges that we had as well. I think although at the time I had been in the athletic department for 7 years, I'd only interfaced with, maybe 4 or 5 teams, and we have 19 sports here at Northwestern, and so a lot of it was just getting out there and spreading the word about NU for Life and what it was, and it was a new program, and you really need to get buy-in immediately from the student athletes, and I think the coaches were on board, but at the time you don't really know what shape this is going to take, and what, anytime you go through anything the first time, you're going to experience some things that work and some things that don't work. And so that first year was a lot of self-reflection, evaluation on the programming, really identifying student athletes who are going to carry the NU for Life torch and message back to their teams, because when you have a department of one, it's incredibly hard to to really get into each team and talk to them on a daily basis. And so by identifying sort of student athlete ambassadors on each team who would be that designated representative, sort of like a SAC representative, really was key in kind of, breaking into the infrastructure of the teams and showing that NU for Life programming is worth their time, because they are so time-strapped at the moment. So that was a challenge at first. I think building out our database of employers and alums who are willing to get involved, and then actually giving them the opportunity to continue their involvement, because it's really hard to, bring in new business or to bring in an alum and then say, I'll get back to you in about 4 months and we'll see if we have something for you at that point. They really want an immediate impact and, something to do immediately. And so being able to really facilitate that relationship between the alum, employer, donor, et cetera, and an athlete right away was a challenge as well. So, I think the buy-in is a little bit difficult at the beginning, and I think that just spreading the word, getting the marketing out there. I would talk to any group that would listen about the program. It was kind of difficult, but after the first year, we got a lot more attendance at our events, and really have a lot of positive momentum now, entering our 4th year of the program, and it's something that's just kind of part of the culture now of our department, versus something that is just another thing that you have to do as a student athlete.
Right. You're listening to the Championship Showcase. We're speaking with the talented Julie Hammer. Julie, share with us some of the success stories that have come from the program itself.
Sure. I mean, I think there are a lot. Every day there are little successes, but I think the couple that really stand out to me are, anytime a student athlete gets a full-time job or an internship that they've been working really hard for. That's something that is absolutely the highlight of my job, is to see them light up and get really excited about them knowing what their next step is going to be. I just had a swimmer in my office who had accepted a position at Accenture as an analyst here in Chicago, and her excitement was incredible. And what was even neater for me is, I'd been working with her over the past 3.5 years, assisted in, connecting her with an internship at BMO Harris Commercial Bank, which she really loved, but didn't think it was something that she wanted to do long term. And so her enthusiasm when she got that internship was incredible. And then now kind of seeing how she's matured and grown and progressed, as now a senior is totally rewarding and is a great success for the program and for the athletic department and the university as well. So, stories like those are really, really incredible. I also enjoy hearing from alums, how impressed they are with our student athletes and the skill set that they have, and are just thrilled to have them in their workplace. So anytime we can create a successful kind of match, if you will, between the employer and the student athlete, to me is a really, really big success. So, and the other thing that I will mention too, we have a 4-year curriculum in which we require 5 events over the student-athletes 4 years here in Evanston. So there are only five events that they're absolutely required to be at, and the rest is optional. After going through our list of seniors for this year, my colleague and I realized that there were only 90%. There were 90% of our seniors who had sought out our services voluntarily, and for us, that's a huge success. It says that what we're doing is working, and the success of the program is and the success, and by that I mean the student athletes are earning internships and full-time jobs and understanding the professional landscape a lot better, and that is spreading within our student athlete population, and that's really that's a small portion of our success. So we're excited about that.
Well, it sounds like you are having a tremendous amount of success. I was going to ask you about the impact you're seeing within the mindsets of the student athletes, as far as the athletes maybe prior to the program were just focused on athletics and maybe struggling afterward, to now where they're getting this broad perspective. What kind of impact have you noticed over the last few years?
I think it's been an awareness that we've started early in their careers. So as sophomores, freshmen and sophomores, they're understanding that the more you're prepared for that next step, the easier it will be. And so I think hopefully having an impact early on in their careers, is really kind of helping with that transition that I mentioned earlier. And I think really I go back to the culture piece as well, in that it's just part of what you do at Northwestern. It's not really questioned, as much as it was in the past. It's just all of my teammates are getting internships. I think I need to get one, or I need to start that process. And so the peer pressure and the street cred, if you will, I'm hoping, I think we're seeing great strides in that area. But I think the impact really is seen once you graduate. And so we're having seniors, say, oh my gosh, I want to give back right away as soon as I leave. I'm going to whatever company I'm going to see if there are internship opportunities there. I'll pass it on to you, and then we'll kind of continue that cycle. And so I think that's really where the impact is seen, is illustrated the greatest. The other thing, too, is we have a young alum group, 5 years and out, who are here in Chicago, and it's just an opportunity to continue that networking and that professional development once you graduate, and to have a community of student athletes who are able to talk amongst each other and kind of brainstorm about job opportunities and see what's out there and that type of thing. So I think not only the 4 years here, we're hoping to have an incredible impact, but then also once they graduate, and that idea of giving back, with your time and with opportunities that may arise at your organization as well.
We've heard culture a number of times in different conversations around this topic, and I think it's so vitally important to have that established. And just like you're saying before, that it wasn't established, but now it's becoming, this is just how it is at Northwestern. What other universities are you aware of that are implementing the same type of program?
Well, I get that question a lot, and what I would say is this, is that, it looks different at every location. You have a different, geographically, not a lot of places have the third largest city in the United States in their backyard. So we're able to tap into that and really kind of, craft our programming around trips downtown Chicago, and having a bunch of alums and companies downtown really lends itself nicely to building up the employer engagement piece and the internship piece. I think a lot of schools are recognizing this as sort of the next, the career development piece and the employer engagement part of it. They're looking at that as like the next big thing in college athletics, and something that they need to start investing in, which I think is terrific, because a version of career enhancement, employer engagement, in my opinion, is critical for the future generation of college athletes. And so, I think a lot of different places are doing it their way and seeing what works in their location with their situation, given the number of student athletes and how much staff is available and the resources available. The geographic location obviously has a lot to do with it as well. So, around the Big Ten, I think that nearly every school addresses this in some way. It just kind of looks different at different sports, at different institutions. And I think same thing within the Power 65 as well. There are just different degrees to which the athletic departments decide to address it.
Are you able to, and with everything else you have going on inside of Northwestern, are you able to get out and share best strategies with other universities that may be looking to implement a program like yours?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken with, in the past week, Iowa called to talk about kind of from a budget standpoint, what that looks like. Texas, I've chatted with as well. So there are a lot of conversations, across Division I, II, and III that I've been having with some folks, which I think is terrific because they're wanting to build up this piece for their student athletes, which is critical. I speak at I've spoken before at NACWA about this, and then also just at any other conference really that will have me. I've done some stuff with the NCAA as well, and so just have tried to help however I can.
Great, excellent, Julie. Really appreciate your thoughts. Talk specifically to those athletes right now. I mean, you've obviously been in this space for some time now. A lot of athletes will graduate from a college, university. They'll go on, maybe have a year or two of professional experience, get injured, get cut, whatever. And then oftentimes they'll come back to the university looking for help, maybe to finish their schooling or for job opportunities. What would you suggest to those athletes that are out there kind of caught in between having left to go on to play professionally, but not with all the skill sets necessary to be successful in the real world?
I think having your degree and finishing is critical, and that's kind of number one, is to get that degree at some point before you enter the real world. I think something we touched upon earlier, but getting started and having that plan B, while you're still on campus and have resources and are able to work with professionals, whether it's within the athletic department or on campus at your career center, but getting a resume, something as simple as that is something that, can really help boost confidence and help you see all of the transferable skills that you have as a student athlete, and how those would translate into the real world once you're done with your sport. And so I think, seeking out resources early on is really important. Talking with alums, I mean, chances are, there's an alum in your sport that has had a similar path that you have, and that they've tried their hand professionally, and it doesn't always last for for as long as you'd like, unfortunately, but you do have to face it at some point. And so I think making it easier on yourself to seek out resources on campus, seek out alums who are in the professional space in your sport is really critical, because that transition is hard, and it's harder the more you put it off. So knowing who your alums are, starting to build those relationships early on while you're still on campus is really, really important. And then keeping in touch once you've gone into the professional ranks, like keeping in touch with individuals on campus. For us, it's NU for Life, or their player development contact, or their coach, or something like that. We all have this whole network of people behind us that we're willing to share with the student athlete and to help them. And our program's called NU for Life, and that you have these resources and this sort of outlet for your life. And so we're here to help connect you with alums and other folks who, who are willing to get you to that next step and lend advice and connections and that type of thing. So I would say alums are a critical piece of, the puzzle when it comes to my playing days are over and now what. So that's where I would place the emphasis on.
Sounds like relationships are a key piece in this whole process. Julie, what do you think, or let me ask you this, do you think this topic of athletes transitioning gets enough attention in the general public? Why or why not?
I think there's a lot of negative attention right now on college athletics in general and all all the variety of issues that are going on. I think that when student athletes graduate and they go on and they get jobs, it's the norm. And so you don't really hear about it a whole lot. And so the more that the media can really draw attention to really unique situations where a student athlete has made that transition, the better. I think, too, we can do a better job as institutions at telling that story of our student athletes and what they're doing now and pointing out the positives that are happening, because there are a lot of them across the board. With that transition piece. And so I think we can do a better job of kind of trumpeting the things that are going on our respective campuses and, and pitching that to the media. But it is certainly, it's the kind of final piece in your college story, and it's the ending, so to speak. And I think it gets lost in the shuffle of greater, bigger issues in college athletics that aren't always positive.
Wow, more universities need to take notice of what's going on at Northwestern University. Julia, how do you see yourself as a leader, and what is the legacy you'd like to leave for others?
I just really feel fortunate, the situation that I'm in at the moment, in that the student athletes are amazing. It's a fantastic skill set here at Northwestern that I have to go out and quote unquote sell. And so I think really we at NU for Life are just kind of the connectors and the catalysts for putting together amazing people with amazing companies and alums. And so I hope that our program and maybe myself can make a small impact, or at least start the student athletes out on a positive note, to let them know that they have the confidence and the skill set to succeed professionally, and that they understand that being a student athlete is a huge advantage in the workplace, and hopefully some of the lessons that they've learned, whether it's on the field or through professional development opportunities, or a conversation that they had with an alum, back in their sophomore year that may have steered their career path one way or another. I'm hopeful that they recognize those as critical moments, and then in turn give back and do the same thing for their fellow Wildcats when the time comes. So I think that really that process of being the connector and also giving back is something that our student athletes see that NU for Life does for them.
Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Well, everyone, we certainly hope you've enjoyed our conversation with the incredible Julie Hammer. I know I have. You've been listening to the Championship Showcase, Secrets for Success, from the playing field of competition to the field of life. Julie, really appreciate your time, and continue to do all the great work you're doing at NU. Maybe more universities will look at what you're doing and model that. I think it's definitely needed, and the work that you're doing is vitally important. Any last thoughts for our listeners before we officially sign off?
I think the investment in student athletes is a good one, and I tip my hat to all the student development professionals out there and the folks in the career side who work really hard every day to impact the student athletes, and just really feel fortunate to be a part of it in general, and to be here at Northwestern and hopefully impact our student athletes and help them along their way.
Sounds great, Julie. Thanks for your time. We want to thank you for joining us, and we encourage all of those out there who feel you might need some assistance through your career transition. Please reach out, get the necessary help you need. You have purpose and you have value. For now, for Julie Hammer, this is Dominic Militello. We want to wish you all the best always, and we'll catch you next time.